Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and everybody's been talking about this Bill Cosby thing and the revelation of court documents, which stated that he admitted in court, according to these transcripts, that he purchased drugs with the expectation that he would give those drugs to women with whom he wanted to have sex. For a lot of people, this was a smoking gun. This was the thing, the thing that made them say, we know he did it now. He's definitely a sexual predator. But then there are varying standards, there are varying shades of gray. There's a lot of heterogeneity in the case. And to really kind of dig to the bottom of this, I said, you know what? I'm gonna reach out to the best lawyer I know. So I called Mr. Damario Solomon-Simmons, who's on the line, and I want to ask him some questions about all of this. So first of all, my brother, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great, Dr. Watkins. It's good to see you and look forward to the conversation.
Absolutely, man. I am. I've been getting in trouble for asking questions about the Cosby thing, not because I believe that he didn't do it. I know what I believe, and what I believe is not in his favor. But I just wanted to know, just certain things about the legalities of all of this, just the nuances. For example, I saw NBC News report that he bought the drugs to give to women who he's going to have sex with. Huffington Post said that he drugged women, that he admitted that he drugged women. To me, that's a different thing, right? Me giving you something that you agree to take versus me sneaking something in your drink or me forcing you to take it. Those seem to be two different things to me. And I'm just wondering, how does a lawyer see all of this? If you, and I know there's different levels of this, but let's say that you represent Cosby and you're going to court in a civil case. I mean, you've been in a lot of big cases. You've done an amazing job for people. How do you even begin to even talk about this in a way that makes sense?
Well, I think first of all, this really is crushing for Bill Cosby, and I think it really, really destroys all and any credibility he had left in the public sphere, and it's definitely something that can be used against him in court. Now, number one, people say this was a in trial. This was not in trial. This was a deposition, and within the deposition, he made some what we call admissions against self that can be used against him. And he does state in his own words that he did have quaaludes and he did give those to individuals or women that he expects to have sex with. Well, that really just undermines everything he stated about this whole ordeal over the last, number of years, and particularly here recently, with so many women coming out with the same issue. So I think Bill Cosby has a lot of legal issues right now. I think he had a lot of legal issues in 2005. When you look at these transcripts and see what his lawyers, how they were being obstructing the other lawyer during their deposition, being very unprofessional, being very disruptive because they knew that they really didn't have the facts on their side. And it's kind of like when people were guarding Shaq, right? There's really nothing you can do about it, so you just gotta foul him. You
Hack
gotta
and
foul
Shaq.
him and beat him up. So they knew what was going to come out, and it was bad. So they tried to mess it up as best they could and hide it, and they did hide it. But it's terrible for Bill Cosby. But overall, this type of behavior is unacceptable. We cannot have this type of behavior in our society, and I hope everyone can learn from it.
Well, okay, so it's funny. I'm on that side too. I think most reasonable people, when you see all these alleged victims stepping up, and then you hear Cosby, it almost seems like you have two pieces of a disconnected chain, where you have a bunch of people saying Cosby drugged me, and then you have Cosby admitting, yeah, I did have the drugs. But he stopped short of saying that that they didn't know that they were taking the drugs. Right? Remember, the objection came up when he was asked that question, and I would have loved to have heard the answer. It'd have been interesting to see if he, told the truth or something else or what. But I'm curious. Okay, so in terms of legal standards, right now we know the statute of limitations has far past in most of these crimes. Um, and a lot of people are pointing out the fact that there is no physical evidence that I know of that says that he did this. There was no rape kits taken. There was no DNA evidence taken to see that if anybody was drugged. It's just sort of people's words against his. Um, you know, does that matter at all in all of this, or are we just kind of to the point where it's like, look, we just know he did it. He's gonna have to pay a whole bunch of money, and et cetera. I mean, how do we even look at all of this?
Well, I think as a lawyer, I value the system of justice, and I value that everyone has an opportunity to be innocent to proven guilty. So, and when you start talking about evidence, I do believe that you have to have firm evidence that you can rely upon. Now, obviously, his own testimony. is evidence that at some point and some woman he did drug. I don't know if you can utilize that same testimony to say each and every woman who's made an allegation over the last couple of months or a couple of years, that they can point to that and say, hey, that's our evidence. I don't think it's that simple, but definitely their testimony, how credible they are. Because remember, in a trial, testimony is evidence. And it's up to the jury to decide who has the most weight, which person you want to give the most weight to for their testimony. And obviously, if Bill Cosby's credibility can be called into question based upon things he's already stated upon under oath, then that may lessen his credibility versus the other person or the woman who has greater credibility. And that could be enough evidence in and of itself, beyond physical evidence, beyond drug tests, just the very point that the jury could believe her story based upon the pattern that they maybe can prove based upon what he stated in his testimony back in 2005.
Interesting. Okay, so you mentioned a point that I definitely want to ask you about. You talked about different, different alleged victims having different levels of credibility. You're talking about a long list of women with different lives. Some of them, were getting money from Cosby afterward and dated him afterward. Some of them stayed away from him. Um, at what point? I mean, you see Gloria Allred; she's kind of lined up with her army of accusers.
Right.
Does everybody get paid, or how do you sort out? How do you say to one person, no, we know you're a bandwagon. You're just jumping on. And versus somebody else that deserves to be compensated. How do you even do that?
Well, I mean, that's going through the litigation process. I think everyone has to bring their individual claims. They have to have stories that they can prove. They need to have whatever evidence, if it's a diary they kept, if it's witness statements, if it's individuals that witnessed something. Those things I have to come into play throughout for each individual claim. But I would imagine the way things are happening now, Mr. Cosby would be better suited, probably just paying, settling these cases, moving on with his life, because he's finished. In a public perception, I think his career is over with. I think he's finished, and I don't think it's coming back. There's no coming back from this type of revelation to come out the way it has. So yeah, would her army of women get paid? Probably so. Should they have to prove certain things? Obviously, I believe proof should be provided in any case, because I'm a lawyer and I believe that the system should play out the way it's supposed to play out. But do I think they're going to get paid? I do think they're going to get paid, because I don't think it's any coming back from this type of omission that has become exposed through the work of the Associated Press. I mean, they really pressed hard and spent a lot of time and energy to get this out to the public. And let me say this too, I'm really disappointed in Bill Cosby's attorney's strategy to keep this hidden, to say it would publicly embarrass him. That's not a legal strategy. And I'm surprised that the attorneys that he had with their high price, probably $1,000 an hour, which hey, I don't have a problem with that. I'm just surprised they couldn't come up with some better legal theory to keep that from coming out. But now that it has, I think it exposes Bill Cosby to a lot of liability. I think he's going to pay a lot of money. And like I said, I think his career is over.
Wow. Okay. So when you talk about, and this leads to my last couple questions, the Associated Press. One of the big questions that I would have is, why didn't the Associated Press, why didn't they dig this up back in 2005? That's what I'm down. Is it because they didn't know that the evidence that this testimony existed? Is it because the media was afraid of Cosby? Why now versus 10 years ago when it happened? I mean, they were journalists back then, just like they are now. So, what do you think it is that's led them to dig it up today, as opposed to digging it up when it was actually made available?
Well, I think a couple things. One, we don't know how long they've actually been trying to get this information. I don't know the answer to that. They could have been working on this for the last 10 years, as far as I know. But number two, we're talking about a media landscape that's so much different than what it was 10 years ago. There was no Facebook. There was no Twitter. There was no just multi 24-hour media coverage. Now you're trying to find any and every opportunity to get content, to get the clicks and the eyeballs on your site or on your TV station. So I think that plays a lot into it. And then number three, you cannot discount the power of celebrity. I mean, you're talking about Beverly Johnson and I can't remember the other model, very, very
Janice Dickinson.
Janice Dickinson. I mean, these are high profile, very well known women who can move the needle past just the individuals we never heard of before, right? So you can never discount those factors, and I think all of that put together could be a reason why this has become such a hot story in the last, I guess a year or so. And again, it's unfortunate because Bill Cosby has done so much good for the world. He's been such a champion for HBCUs and African American causes. I believe the Huxtable or the Cosby Show was the greatest TV show in the history of America. That's my personal opinion. But I don't think we can allow any of that greatness to cloud our ability to say this issue, the sexual rape, deviant behavior is wrong, is reprehensible. We cannot tolerate it. We cannot allow a predator to continue to have that type of access to young women and drug and have sex with them, as I understand he has testified himself to do based upon what I've read, and I have read the documents. It's truly an unfortunate situation for the women who were raped. It's an unfortunate situation for the work that Bill Cosby stood for.
Well, that is an interesting perspective, and you're right. I mean, it does seem like he's either a good person who did some bad things or a bad person who did some good things. I'll leave that up to the eye of the beholder. Now, this is my last question. I want to ask you this, and I think this is important, especially with you being a legal expert that you are. There are a lot of people who are demanding and saying that Cosby should go to jail. That maybe believe this is a possibility that something could happen. They could change the statute of limitations, something like that. Is there any possibility that Cosby could go to jail for these things?
My understanding, based upon all the reports and documents I've had an opportunity to review, that the statute of limitations for all the criminal statutes, criminal rapes being punished has already lapsed. So the short answer is no. I don't believe he can go to jail at this point. I don't see a crime that he committed that he can be punished for based upon the current laws that are on the books today. Now, that being said, again, the civil liability is going to be immense. And I think that the punishment of his legacy being forever destroyed and his career being over, I think that's just as bad punishment that a person like Dr. Bill Cosby can ever receive beyond any jail or anything else. I think going for the rest of his life knowing that he's tarnished, he's a pariah, he's a sex offender, and no one wants to have anything to do with him or his legacy. I can't think of a greater punishment than that for a person like Bill Cosby. And it is sad.
Yes, it is. It is very sad, and I love your analysis, man. I knew you would help us settle, clear through all of the mess and understand it. Everybody's got their opinions based on emotion, based on politics, stuff like that. But I wanted to hear from an objective attorney, and you gave me exactly what I was looking for. So I want to say thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate this opportunity to talk to you as always. And you can always, any of your fans can look me up at attorney Damario Solomon-Simmons, and I'd be happy to answer their questions or provide any help I can in the future.
All right, everybody, and this is Damario Solomon-Simmons out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Damario, what's your website, man?
My website is www.solomonsimmons.com.
Okay.
That's solomonsimmons.com.
Okay, so everybody, if you're looking for a great legal mind and just a good brother in general, look up Damario Solomon-Simmons. Go to his website, support everything that he's doing. He's a respected colleague and just a really bright guy. So thanks again, and everybody who's watching. This is Damario Solomon-Simmons. One more time, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. And until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. And remember, form your own opinions and don't let other people give your opinions to you. That's what I want you to do. I'm not here to think for you. I want you to think for yourself. Take care. Peace.